Have you ever left a conversation feeling confused, diminished, or somehow at fault, yet unable to point to a single overtly aggressive statement? This experience is not a failure of listening. It is often the result of structured linguistic patterns, coded phrases that function as tools of control within certain types of relationships. While these patterns can appear in any dynamic, they are most consistently deployed by individuals operating from a narcissistic framework, a personality structure defined by a need for admiration, a lack of empathy, and an inability to take responsibility for harm. What we are exploring today is not about labeling every difficult person, but about understanding the mechanics of language when it is weaponized, because recognizing these patterns is the first step toward disarming them. To understand why narcissistic communication feels like a foreign language, we must look at the underlying objective. Most conversations between healthy individuals operate on mutual understanding, where the goal is to exchange information or deepen connection. When someone is speaking from a narcissistic framework, however, the objective shifts. Language becomes a tool for preserving a fragile self-image, maintaining control, and deflecting any threat to their perceived superiority. The phrases we are about to examine are not casual expressions. They are code, carrying subtext that serves a specific psychological function for the speaker while quietly undermining the listener. The first coded phrase is, "This is for your own good," or its variants like, "I'm just concerned about you." On the surface, this appears to be care, but in context it precedes criticism, limitation, or an attempt to redirect the listener's choices. The function is to cloak control in the language of benevolence. The speaker positions themselves as the authority on what is best for you, erasing your own judgment. This is common among covert narcissists, who express control not through overt aggression, but through persistent, patronizing concern. They question your clothing, your friendships, your career ambitions, all under the guise of looking out for you. But the pattern is consistent. The dress they discourage is the one that makes you feel confident. The friends they warn you about are the ones who support your independence. The career they deem impractical is the one that excites you. The common thread is not genuine concern for your well-being, but a quiet investment in keeping you smaller and more dependent. The second coded phrase is, "That's not what I meant." This is a classic deflection mechanism. The speaker says something hurtful, and when you respond to the impact, they retreat behind the claim that you have misinterpreted them. The implication is that your reaction is not a response to what was actually said, but to a distorted version you invented. This serves two functions. First, it allows the speaker to avoid responsibility for the harm they caused. Second, it places the burden of the conflict onto you, framing you as someone who reads malice where none exists. Over time, this pattern trains you to second-guess your own perception. You begin to wonder if perhaps you did misunderstand. This is the mechanism of gaslighting, the gradual erosion of your trust in your own interpretive abilities. The third coded phrase is, "No one else thinks that. It's just you." This operates as social isolation wrapped in language. The speaker invokes an invisible consensus, an unnamed group who supposedly shares their perspective. By claiming your view as uniquely held, they position you as an outlier, someone whose perceptions are out of step with everyone else. This is deeply destabilizing because humans rely on shared reality to feel grounded. When you are told repeatedly that your concerns are not shared by anyone else, you begin to question whether they are valid at all. The function is to make you feel alone in your experience, to erode your confidence in your own judgment, and to increase your reliance on the speaker as the only person who tolerates your supposed eccentricities. The fourth coded phrase is, "I was just kidding," or "Can't you take a joke?" This weaponizes humor, one of the most socially disarming forms of communication. The speaker makes a pointed remark, often in front of others. When you react with hurt, they retreat behind the defense of joking. The implication is that your reaction is the problem, not their remark. You are positioned as humorless. The function is twofold. It allows the speaker to deliver cruelty with impunity, because any objection is met with the accusation that you lack a sense of humor. And it serves as a test of your boundaries, probing how much they can get away with. In a healthy dynamic, when someone expresses that a joke has crossed a line, the appropriate response is to acknowledge the impact. The response, "I was just kidding," dismisses that impact entirely. The fifth coded phrase is, "You're too sensitive." This is a direct assault on the validity of your emotional responses. When someone tells you that you are too sensitive, they are not offering a neutral observation. They are making a judgment about the legitimacy of your reaction. They are saying that your response is disproportionate, that the real issue is not their behavior, but your inability to handle it. This is a masterful inversion of responsibility. Instead of examining whether their words were hurtful, they place the focus on your reaction to the hurt. When you are repeatedly told that your feelings are too much, you learn to suppress your own emotional responses. happens? You stop trusting your own internal signals. You become more manageable to the person who benefits from your silence. What ties these phrases together is a common structure. Each one deflects responsibility from the speaker onto the listener. Each one positions the speaker as reasonable and the listener as unreasonable. And each one, over time, erodes the listener's trust in their own perceptions. This is not a coincidence. It is the operational logic of a system designed to maintain control by destabilizing your internal compass. Understanding these patterns is not about reading manipulation into every awkward interaction. The difference lies in pattern and context. When these phrases become recurring features of a relationship, when you consistently leave conversations feeling confused and at fault, you are likely dealing with a pattern beyond ordinary miscommunication. The first step is to stop trying to translate your experience into terms the other person will accept. You cannot find the right words to make someone hear you when their investment is in not hearing. The second step is to trust your own experience, even in the face of persistent invalidation. You do not need the other person to agree for it to be true. The third step is to recognize that your participation is a choice. You cannot change the other person's patterns, but you can change how much access they have to you and whether you remain in interactions that leave you feeling smaller. The language of narcissism is designed to be confusing, to create fog where clarity should be. But once you learn to see through the code, the fog begins to lift. Words like "for your own good" reveal themselves as control disguised as care. "That's not what I meant" reveals itself as responsibility disguised as misunderstanding. "You're too sensitive" reveals itself as invalidation disguised as observation. Recognizing these patterns is the beginning of reclaiming your own clarity, your own judgment, and your own voice.